A warm and peaceful hello to you, and welcome back to Mind Becoming, the official podcast from Mindcraft. I'm so glad you're tuning in. Wherever you are, whatever space you're in, I hope you can find a quiet corner, a moment of stillness to join us on a special journey. This is a journey back in time, not to regret or to judge, but to find and embrace a sacred, essential part of yourself, your inner child. My friend, have you ever wondered why at times, despite being a rational while capable adult, you react in ways that feel surprisingly childish? A minor criticism wounds you deeply, stinging for days. A small rejection feels like a catastrophic verdict on your entire being, as if the whole world is turning its back on you. Or perhaps there are baseless fears that constrict your chest, an unnameable emptiness that haunts your quiet moments, or repeating, destructive patterns in your relationships that leave you exhausted, confused, and stuck. Have you ever felt like you're wearing the heavy mask of a grown-up, shouldering responsibilities and pressures with a strained smile, while deep down, a faint, fragile voice is crying, terrified, or desperately yearning to be allowed to play, to be seen, to be held and comforted? If the answer is yes, even for a fleeting moment, you are far from alone. That faint voice, that fragile image, is the embodiment of your inner child. It is the part of your soul that holds all the memories, emotions, and experiences from your earliest years. It is a vast internal landscape. It is where your purest joys, your uninhibited, carefree laughter, your boundless creativity, and your endless curiosity about the world are stored in vibrant color. But it is also the place that holds the unconsoled sorrows, the unwiped tears, the unexpressed volcanic anger, and the deep, tender wounds that have never truly healed. In the frantic pace of adult life, we often forget this child. We treat it like an inconvenience. We lock it away in a dark, soundproof room of our subconscious, demanding that it stay silent, that it grow up, because we believe we don't have time for its irrational feelings. But you see, that child never disappears. It doesn't age. It remains there, silently influencing every thought, every feeling, and every action we take in the present. A wounded, neglected inner child will always find a way to be heard. It will pull the strings of our emotional puppet, causing us to act in ways that our own rational minds cannot comprehend, leaving us to wonder, why did I just do that? Our journey today on Mind Becoming is about finding the key to that dark room. Not to scold or to judge the child for being too sensitive or weak, but to unlock the door with compassion. Step inside, light a candle of understanding, and say to the child huddled in the corner, I'm here now. I've come back for you. I'm so sorry I left you alone for so long. From now on, I will be here to listen and to love you. This is more than just a psychological concept. This is the most profound healing encounter a person can have with themselves. Because when we heal our inner child, we aren't just soothing the past, we are liberating ourselves in the present, enabling us to live a more complete, authentic, peaceful, mild, and fulfilling life. Let's together, very slowly, very gently, step into the sacred garden of our soul's memories. To begin this healing journey, the first and most crucial step is awareness. We must learn to listen to the whispers, the signals our inner child tries to send us every day. These signals are often subtle, hiding beneath the surface of behaviors and emotions we might label as our personality or habits. Take a moment to listen and reflect as we explore them. Do you see yourself in any of these signs? A primary sign is low self-esteem and a constant need for external validation. A child who grows up feeling they are not good enough, not loved unconditionally, will carry that core belief like a heavy cloak into their adult world. Imagine this. You've just received praise for a major project at work. For a fleeting moment, you feel a flicker of pride, but it's quickly extinguished by a wave of anxiety. Instead of celebrating, your mind is already racing. Can I do it again? What if the next one is a failure? They'll find out I'm not really that good. You find yourself rereading emails, searching for any subtle hint of criticism, unable to internalize the success because your inner child still believes its worth is conditional and must be proven again and again. Your sense of worth isn't generated from within. It's a fragile thing that depends entirely on the praise and approval of others. A compliment feels good for a moment, but it evaporates quickly, like mist. A single piece of criticism, no matter how small, can shatter you, replaying in your mind for days, confirming your deepest fears about yourself. Your inner child is desperately unconsciously trying to hear the words it never heard in the past. You did a great job. You are wonderful just as you are. I'm so proud of you. And when it can't get that validation from you, the adult, it seeks it desperately and relentlessly from the outside world. Another clear indicator is found in toxic patterns in relationships. Our adult relationships often become a stage where the unwritten, painful dramas of our childhood are unconsciously reenacted with different actors. Fear of abandonment. Let's make this more concrete. Your partner is running late and hasn't texted. The rational adult mind might think, traffic must be bad. But the wounded inner child hijacks the control panel. The thought process spirals rapidly from concern to panic. What if they were in an accident? Quickly becomes, what if they're with someone else? What if they've decided they don't love me anymore? This isn't just worry. It's a visceral bodily terror because the child within is re-experiencing the primal fear of being left alone. Your nervous system is on high alert for any sign of withdrawal because to your inner child, disconnection feels like a threat to survival. Difficulty trusting and keeping distance. Conversely, if your childhood was filled with betrayal, broken promises, or violated boundaries, your inner child learned a harsh lesson. Trusting others is unsafe. Vulnerability leads to pain. As an adult, you build impenetrable walls around your heart. You might appear cold, fiercely independent, as if you don't need anyone. You might even sabotage good relationships, pushing people away before they have a chance to get too close and inevitably hurt you. Opening up and sharing your deepest feelings becomes nearly impossible because your inner child is convinced that betrayal and pain are the certain outcomes of intimacy. Becoming the people pleaser. Think of that feeling when a colleague asks you to take on extra work. Your schedule is already packed to the breaking point and every cell in your body is screaming, no. But before you can stop it, the word, sure, no problem, comes out of your mouth. The immediate result is a wave of resentment and exhaustion. You've abandoned your own needs once again because your inner child learned that saying no is dangerous. It could lead to disapproval, conflict, or the withdrawal of love. This brings us to another deeply pervasive sign, chronic anxiety and a vague sense of unease. This isn't the kind of anxiety that's tied to a specific event, like an upcoming exam or a job interview. This is a baseline state of being. It's a constant, low-grade hum of dread in the background of your life, a persistent feeling that something is about to go wrong, even when everything is objectively fine. It's the feeling of waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is the nervous system of a child who grew up in an unpredictable or emotionally unsafe environment, a nervous system that learned it had to stay in a state of high alert or hypervigilance to survive. As an adult, your mind knows you are safe, but your body still remembers the danger. This manifests as an inability to truly relax, a tendency to catastrophize minor issues, and physical symptoms like a perpetually tight chest, a knot in your stomach, or unexplained muscle tension. Your inner child is still scanning the horizon for threats, unable to accept the peace of the present moment. We might also see the signs in our emotional outbursts or numbness. As children, many of us weren't taught how to process big emotions like anger, sadness, or fear. So those powerful emotions didn't disappear. They were just suppressed, pushed down into the basement of our psyche. In adulthood, they manifest in two extremes. Explosions. Like a pressure cooker left on the stove for too long, a small, seemingly insignificant trigger can cause you to explode. You might have uncontrollable fits of rage over a minor mistake, devastating crying spells that feel endless, or intense anxiety attacks that seem completely disproportionate to the situation. This isn't an overreaction to the present moment. This is your inner child finally releasing the dam of decades of pent-up, unexpressed emotion. Numbness. Alternatively, you might go to the other extreme. You feel nothing at all. You experience a chronic emptiness, a sense of being disconnected from your own feelings, as if watching your life through a pane of glass. Joy is muted, and sadness isn't profound. This is a sophisticated defense mechanism. Your inner child decided long ago that to feel is to be in pain, so it's better not to feel at all. You might function like a highly efficient machine, getting everything done, but you've lost your connection to the vibrancy, meaning, and color of life. Finally, a wounded inner child can lead to self-sabotage and addictive behaviors. When the inner child's pain becomes too overwhelming to bear and there are no healthy ways to soothe it, we as adults may turn to self-destructive behaviors for a temporary escape. These behaviors are not a sign of moral failure. They are misguided attempts at self-medication. They share a common goal: to numb the pain, fill the void, and temporarily silence the cries of the inner child. But they are only temporary painkillers. When the effects wear off, the pain returns, often stronger than before, wrapped in a new layer of shame, and the cycle of self-sabotage continues, getting worse over time. Recognizing these signs is not about blaming yourself. It is the very opposite. It is the first step of radical self-compassion. When you catch yourself acting in these ways, instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" try to pause and gently ask, "What part of me is hurting right now? What is my inner child trying to tell me?" This awareness is the first ray of light into that dark room, and only with light can we begin the work of healing. Recognizing these patterns is a powerful first step, but to truly heal, we must also look back with compassion and understand the roots of these wounds. When we talk about childhood trauma, it isn't always about major, horrific events. Often, the wounds come from more subtle and common forms of pain, things our parents may not have even realized were causing harm. Remember, the purpose here is not to blame. Most parents did the best they could with the understanding and resources they had at the time. They, too, may be carrying the wounds of their own inner child. This journey is about understanding the impact of past events on the child that was you, so you can free yourself from their influence today. One of the most common sources is emotional neglect. This is perhaps the most common and hardest to recognize form of wounding. It doesn't mean your parents didn't feed or clothe you. It means they weren't there for you emotionally. Your feelings were dismissed or invalidated. When you were sad and cried, instead of being held and comforted, you heard, "What's there to cry about? Stop it." When you were angry, you were scolded. "Don't you dare be disrespectful." When you were scared, you were told, "There's nothing to be afraid of. Don't be a baby." Over time, you learned a devastating lesson. Your feelings were wrong, inconvenient, or too much. You stopped sharing, stopped expressing, and began to doubt your own inner reality, leading to a profound disconnection from yourself. Your parents were emotionally unavailable. They might have been physically present in the house, but their minds were elsewhere, consumed by work, financial worries, their own marital conflicts, or their own unhealed trauma. You felt lonely even in a crowded room, an invisible guest in your own home. No one truly saw you. No one was curious about your inner world, about the dreams and fears of a child. This profound lack of connection creates a huge hole in the soul, an emptiness that as an adult you might try to fill with achievements, relationships, or substances, but it never feels truly full. Beyond neglect, another profound source of wounding comes from growing up in a chaotic or unpredictable environment. This is a home where the emotional ground is constantly shifting beneath a child's feet. It's not just about what was done to the child, but the very atmosphere they were forced to breathe. This could be a home with a parent struggling with addiction, where their personality could change drastically and frighteningly from one moment to the next. It could be a home with a parent suffering from untreated mental illness, like severe depression or bipolar disorder, where days of warmth could suddenly be followed by weeks of cold, inexplicable distance. Or it could be a home filled with constant, explosive conflict between parents, where the air is thick with tension and the child lives in fear of the next eruption. In such an environment, life feels like walking through a minefield. The rules are always changing. Safety is never guaranteed. The child learns that their world is fundamentally unstable. To survive, they must become a master observer, a tiny emotional meteorologist. They learn to walk on eggshells, becoming hyper-vigilant to the slightest shifts in mood. They can read a parent's micro-expressions from across the room, interpret the subtle change in the tone of a voice, and know from the sound of footsteps on the stairs whether to make themselves visible or to disappear. They become responsible for the emotional temperature of the entire household, believing that if they can just be good enough, quiet enough, or perfect enough, they can prevent the next crisis. This is an impossible burden for a child to carry. As adults, these children find it incredibly difficult to relax or trust instability. Their nervous system is permanently wired for crisis. They may even be unconsciously drawn to chaotic jobs or relationships because the drama feels familiar, while peace feels unsettling and strange. They don't know how to just be. They only know how to manage, anticipate, and react. Another route can be being forced to grow up too soon, a process known as parentification. Some children are forced to become adults before their time. Becoming a parent to your parents. When parents go through emotional turmoil, divorce, or mental health struggles, a child might unconsciously take on the role of the comforter, the mediator, the family therapist, or the caretaker for their own parents. They have to be strong, to not be an additional burden. They lose their childhood, their right to be carefree and protected. As adults, they become hyper-responsible, always feeling like they have to carry the weight of the world, and find it extremely difficult to be playful, spontaneous, or to ask for and receive help from others. Excessive family responsibilities. In many families, older children are expected to care for younger siblings and handle household chores from a very young age. While this can teach independence, if it's overwhelming and comes without recognition or encouragement, the child can feel like their childhood was stolen. They may carry a quiet resentment and a feeling that their own needs are never important, a pattern that continues into adulthood. Many wounds also stem from excessive criticism and unrealistic expectations. This is where we often find the origins of the inner critic. Conditional love and the good child syndrome. The child is only praised and shown affection when they achieve something. A perfect grade, an award, absolute obedience. Love becomes a reward to be earned, not a given. This creates a terrifying fear of failure, but it also creates a specific identity, the good child or the golden child. This is the child who is the family's pride and joy. They are responsible, polite, and excel at everything they do. From the outside, it looks like a perfect childhood. But inside, the child feels like an actor playing a part they can never step out of. The core wound here is devastatingly subtle. They learn that love is not for who they are, but for what they do. It is transactional. Their worth is not inherent. It is tied directly to their performance. This creates an immense, crushing internal pressure. A B+ on a report card doesn't just feel like a disappointment. It feels like a catastrophic failure that threatens their very identity and their connection to their caregivers. Making a mistake is not just a mistake. It is proof that they are fundamentally flawed and will lose the love and approval they depend on for their emotional survival. They become so focused on meeting external expectations of parents, teachers, and later, bosses and partners, that they lose touch with their own authentic desires, feelings, and passions. They don't know what they truly want because they were never asked. They were only told what they should want. These children often grow up to be highly successful adults, but they arrive at the pinnacle of their achievements feeling profoundly empty, disconnected, and lost, asking, "I did everything right. Why am I not happy? Who am I without all of this?" They don't know how to be authentic because they were rewarded for being a performance, not a person. Constant criticism. Words like, "Why are you so stupid? Look at the neighbor's kid," or "You'll never amount to anything," are devastatingly destructive. They are like knives carving deep into a child's tender soul, creating the core belief that I am useless, a disappointment, and fundamentally flawed. These words become the voice of the inner critic in adulthood, an internal tormentor that constantly berates and devalues the self, sabotaging joy and success. Finally, wounds are often created when boundaries are violated. Boundaries are the physical, emotional, and mental limits we need to feel safe and develop a healthy sense of self. Lack of privacy. Parents who read diaries, enter rooms without knocking, or control all friendships leave a child with no private space to develop their own identity. As adults, they may struggle to set and maintain healthy boundaries. They either don't know how to say no and let others invade their space, or they become extremely secretive and defensive, unable to let anyone in. Being over-controlled. Parents who decide everything for their child, from the clothes they wear, to the friends they have, to their career path, rob the child of the chance to make their own decisions, make mistakes, and learn from them. They are not taught to trust their own inner compass. As adults, they may lack confidence in their own judgment, always needing others' opinions. Or conversely, they may rebel fiercely against any form of authority. As you listen to this, painful memories may surface. That is completely normal. Allow yourself to feel them, and remember that the you of today is here, and you are safe. Understanding the source of your wounds is not about dwelling in victimhood. It is about empowerment, because when we understand the why, we can find the how to heal. Understanding our past empowers us to begin the most transformative part of this process, the healing journey itself. This is where we learn to become the parent we always needed. Healing your inner child is a process of love and patience, much like tending to a long-neglected garden. The gardener here is the adult you of today, wise, understanding, and full of compassion. This process is called reparenting. It means you consciously give your inner child everything it lacked: safety, validation, and unconditional love. The first step is to acknowledge the presence of your inner child. This is more than just a mental nod. It's a deep acceptance. It's about turning toward, not away from, the feelings you've been avoiding. Start noticing the moments it shows up, in a burst of rage, a wave of anxiety, or an urge to withdraw. A simple and powerful practice is to find a photo of yourself as a child and place it where you can see it daily. Look into that child's eyes and whisper, "I see you. I know you're there. I won't abandon you anymore." This simple act can be profoundly moving, as it's the first time in a long time that this part of you has been seen. Next, you must listen and validate. Create a safe, sacred space through journaling or meditation to have an inner dialogue. Ask your inner child loving questions. How are you feeling? What made you so sad, scared, angry? What do you need from me right now? The key is to listen without judgment, analysis, or trying to fix it. Validation is not about agreeing with the child's perspective, but about honoring their emotional truth. Say the things it always longed to hear. It makes so much sense that you felt that way. And I'm here with you now. You are safe. This validation is a magic balm that begins to repair the broken trust with yourself. Once trust is established, it's time to nurture, comfort, and protect. This is about taking loving action. Offer yourself acts of nurturing, a warm bath, a cup of tea, wrapping yourself in a soft blanket. These are not indulgences. They are essential acts of reparenting. But the role of protector goes far beyond just comforting words and standing up to your inner critic. It requires us to learn two skills that may feel completely foreign: setting boundaries and rediscovering play. Let's talk about the art of setting boundaries. For many of us with wounded inner children, this is the hardest work of all. Why? Because the child within is terrified of disapproval and rejection. To say no to a request, to state a need that might inconvenience someone else, feels like risking abandonment all over again. The child's survival strategy was to be compliant, to be easy, to not make waves. So, as an adult, the thought of setting a boundary can trigger a storm of internal guilt and fear. But as the wise adult, the loving reparent, you must learn to do it anyway. It is an act of profound self-love and the ultimate way to create safety. Setting a boundary is not an act of aggression. It is an act of clarity. It's about defining what is okay for you and what is not. It starts small. Maybe it's not answering a work email at 10 p.m. Maybe it's telling a friend, "I'd love to see you, but I don't have the energy for a big group event tonight. Could we do a quiet one-on-one next week instead?" With family, it might sound like, "I love you, and I am not willing to discuss my personal choices at the dinner table. We can talk about something else." Each time you set a boundary, you will likely feel uncomfortable at first. That's the inner child's old fear flaring up. Your job is to breathe through that discomfort and reassure that child. "I know this is scary, but I've got this. I am keeping us safe. Our needs matter." Each time you successfully hold a boundary, you are building a fortress of self-respect around your inner child, a place where it finally feels safe and honored. Now, protecting the child is crucial, but healing also means letting them out to rediscover play. As adults, we often confuse play with leisure or hobbies, activities that are meant to be productive or achieve a goal, like training for a marathon, learning a new language, or even scrolling through social media. But true play is different. It is purposeless, joyful, and done for its own sake. It's the state of being fully absorbed in an activity without worrying about the outcome, the quality, or what anyone else thinks. It is the antidote to the seriousness, the pressure, and the hyper-responsibility that your inner child was forced to carry too soon. Scientifically, play is essential for our well-being. It lowers the stress hormone cortisol, stimulates the parts of our brain responsible for creativity and problem-solving, and builds emotional resilience. For your inner child, it is pure medicine. It is a direct line back to its natural state of being, curious, spontaneous, and alive. So what does play look like for you? You have to ask your inner child. Maybe it's putting on your favorite music from when you were a teenager and dancing wildly in your living room. Maybe it's getting some crayons and a coloring book and deliberately coloring outside the lines. It could be building something with Legos, walking barefoot in the grass, singing at the top of your lungs in the car, or trying to learn a silly magic trick. The only rule of play is that there are no rules, only joy and a willingness to feel a little foolish. By intentionally scheduling time for purposeless play, you are telling your inner child, your joy is important. You are allowed to be frivolous. You are allowed to have fun just for the sake of it. You are safe enough to let go. The ultimate goal of this journey is to integrate and live wholly. A healed inner child doesn't disappear. It becomes your greatest ally. It no longer screams for attention through negative behaviors. Instead, it becomes your source of inner strength, creativity, playfulness, and authenticity. The wise adult and the healed child learn to walk hand in hand. The adult can navigate the complexities of life, while the child reminds the adult of the magic, wonder, and joy available in every moment. This journey requires commitment, but every time you pause to listen to yourself, you are performing the greatest act of self-love. This journey of reparenting is profound, but theory remains just theory if it's not put into practice. So now, here on Mind Becoming, I invite you to engage in a couple of specific exercises to truly begin the dialogue with your inner child. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Have a pen and paper ready for our first exercise. Let's begin with writing a letter to your inner child. Writing is a powerful way to bring subconscious feelings to light. First, as the adult you are today, write a letter to that child. Start with a greeting and an acknowledgement. I see you. I know you've been there all along. Offer a sincere apology for leaving them alone, for not listening, for not protecting them. Show your understanding by validating a specific painful memory. I remember when, and I know you must have felt so alone. And finally, make a promise. From this day forward, I will always listen to your voice. I will protect you. I will celebrate you. Write from your heart. Now for the second part, which is a very powerful technique. You're going to let the child write back using your non-dominant hand. This helps bypass your rational brain and connect directly with your inner child's voice. The handwriting will be messy, and that's okay. Just let your hand write whatever comes to mind. It could be anger. Where were you? Fear. I'm scared. Or a simple request for love. Can you hug me? Accept it all without judgment. This is the beginning of your inner dialogue. For our second exercise, let's do a guided meditation to meet and embrace your inner child. If you're able, find a comfortable seated position and close your eyes. Start by focusing on your breath, breathing in peace, and breathing out all troubles. Now, imagine yourself on a beautiful, safe path. As you walk, you see a child in a clearing ahead. As you get closer, you realize it is you. Observe this child with infinite love in your heart. Gently say, "Hello, it's me." Sit down at their level and speak from your heart. "I've come back for you. I'm so sorry I left you alone for so long." Ask them what they want to tell you and what they need from you. Listen silently. If they allow it, slowly open your arms and embrace that child. Feel their small body in your adult arms. Send all your love, warmth, and safety to them. Whisper, "You are safe now. I am here to protect you. I love you unconditionally." Before you leave this space, promise the child you will return. Carry this feeling of warmth and connection back with you. Whenever you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Welcome back. remember that child is no longer alone. They have you. My friend, the journey we have just taken together on Mind Becoming is not about erasing the past, but about integrating it with love. Imagine for a moment that your inner world was once a vast, barren landscape, swept by the cold winds of self-criticism and the dry dust of unmet needs. The journey of healing your inner child is the act of becoming a patient, loving gardener of this landscape. At first, the work is hard. You must pull the stubborn weeds of old beliefs and break up the compacted soil of long-held pain. You water this ground with your tears of grief and your acts of self-compassion. Then, slowly, miraculously, things begin to change. Where there was once only rock, a tiny green shoot of self-worth appears, a shoot that doesn't depend on the weather of external validation to grow. You begin to plant seeds of joy, and you find that the laughter you thought was lost forever begins to bloom in unexpected places. You learn to build a sturdy fence of boundaries, not to keep others out, but to create a safe sanctuary where your most tender feelings can flourish without being trampled. The transformation becomes tangible in your daily life. A critical comment from your boss, which once would have sent you into a week-long spiral of self-doubt, is now met with a moment of inner stillness. You hear the sting, you acknowledge the child's flicker of fear, and then you, the adult gardener, calmly assess the feedback, separating what is useful from what is not. An argument with a loved one, which once would have escalated into a dramatic storm of accusation and defense, now has moments of pause. You can feel the child's panic rising, and instead of letting it take over, you can say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need a moment." You are no longer a slave to the storm. You are learning to be the calm in the center of it. This is what it means to live with a healed inner child. It's not a life without pain or conflict. It is a life where you have a deep, unwavering, and compassionate relationship with yourself. You are no longer at war inside. You are home. The journey back to your inner child is the most precious gift you can give yourself. It is an act of courage, of self-respect, and of the deepest love. I hope that what we've shared today has planted a seed of healing in the garden of your soul. Be patient and tend to that seed every day. What was your experience with the exercises? Did anything surprise you? We would love to hear about your journey. Please share your thoughts and feelings in the comments section below. Your story could be the light that helps someone else on their path. Thank you for spending this time with us here at Mindcraft. If this episode resonated with you, please consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, I wish you a journey home to yourself that is filled with love and peace.